Hey, what's up, everyone? Buongiorno. Bonjour, hola, and hello. Okay, so it was 2010. It was the second half of 2010, and a local musician, local guitarist of my city, the District of Columbia, Estrada, in the DMV area, he had just he had become a part of a new band called Skysaw, as in the sky and as in a buzz saw, put together and led by one of the absolute greatest top to bottom rock drummers in rock pop history, and who is also one of the very first members of rock and pop history's official Instagram account pages that I started posting my nuked all clearism, epic legend, legacy, history, greatest of universe, cosmos, earth, etc. on back in the summer of 2018. Um, and who is the co-founding drummer of what was for a very long time, and a lot of people don't know this about me, but for a very long time, my favorite group of all time was, in fact, the Smashing Pumpkins. So I can't tell you the amount of miles and mileage I covered in the Roman, Latin, Italian tradition of my ancestry by foot throughout my birthplace city of the District of Columbia, throughout my quadrant of the upper northwest of DC, listening to the Smashing Pumpkins through my Walkman, clipped onto retro my retro vintage leather belts with my headphones plugged in. I can't tell you how many times I listened to their albums and how much mileage I covered by foot on ground throughout my upper northwest DC listening to the Smashing Pumpkins. They were a significant part of my journey. So if you didn't know, well, now you know. So let's go back. It's the second half of 2010. And this was a local musician I had run into. We struck conversation, got to know each other. We would see each other around the Black Cat in DC and other venues. And he was in Jimmy Chamberlain's band. Jimmy Chamberlain, the drummer of the Smashing Pumpkins band called Skysaw. So around the time that this local musician guitarist became a member of Skysaw, they even put out an album. I think it's the album's called Great Civilizations or Greatest Civilizations, but I think it's called Great Civilizations. The band was called Skysaw, and how foretelling for me. I'll get into why that's very foretelling for me. But long story short, his name is Anthony, and Anthony offered to lay down guitar on rhythm and lead to my demo. For to lay down guitar on rhythm and lead to my demo of rough tracks of originals that I shared with him between 2009 and 2011. So there we go. But long story short, how foretelling, because I went and saw Skysaw when they came to the Black Cat, and I went to the second floor, and half of the Black Cat was empty. So after that, Jimmy Chamberlain disbanded the group and just aborted and I believe that was it. He was done with Skysaw. He wrapped that project up. He said it's over. But anyhow, I love you, Jimmy. I love you, JC. You rock, dude. You too, Billy, and the rest of the band, including Billy Corgan's team, Linda Strawberry, Caitlin Foisey, Sierra Swan, and Jessica Reddish. All members of Billy Corgan's Smashing Pumpkins and Madame Zuzu and Tea House Emporium team, if I'm correct. I'm pretty sure I am. We'll get into that in other video logs of mine. But anyhow, and may I add, Scarlett Page, the legendary historic rock photographer, daughter of Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, she was in fact the Smashing Pumpkins' personal photographer from 1994 to 1996, when they were the #1 band in the frickin' planet. Okay. And headlined the Lollapalooza Festival because of Kurt Cobain's death. So Nirvana was slated, I believe, to headline Lollapalooza in 1994, if I'm right. But the Smashing Pumpkins ended up taking the headlining top act slot because of Kurt Cobain's death. So they were the replacement. But anyhow. So after I saw the Skysaw show at the Black Cat, that was July of 2011. So that was 12 years ago. But how foretelling, because the band was called, Jimmy's side project band was called Skysaw. And let me tell you, since then, how the black skies of space were ripped wide open for me, cosmically, universally, organically, occultishly, magically, supernaturally, and just plunged all 800 plus of the very top of pop history and culture and its 100th anniversary now all around me, from my crown to my root, like the rings to my Saturn, all around me, with me, for me, waiting for me, behind me, hardwired, all around me, with me, for me, waiting for me, behind me, hardwired